The Amazing Spider-Man 3 is going to happen, and here are 3 reasons I believe why. If you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, this is going to be a spoiler episode of this show, so I recommend you leave a like, go watch it, and come back. I'm going to be talking about post-credit scenes and things like that in other Spider-Man films as well, but my guess is if you're here, you're watching this video, you're probably a Spider-Man fan. I'm definitely a Spider-Man fan, and I love talking about this stuff. In fact, on this channel, we just did a show called The Best and the Worst. It's a new podcast we launched where we do a full ranking of the best and the worst Spider-Man film and all the reasons why. You can find the link in the description here, or you can listen to it as a podcast, but it's our brand new show. Anyway, getting into why Amazing Spider-Man 3 is going to happen, I'm going to start with really reason number 1, and it's that Andrew Garfield is the perfect Spider-Man for what Sony is doing with their Spider-Verse. Now, Tom Holland and how that works as far as it relates to Iron Man and the MCU, that's wonderful. It's great. It's great that he was in a movie with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. I mean, I love that movie. That movie is incredible. But in terms of what Sony is doing separately, so Morbius and Aaron Taylor Johnson being cast in a Craven movie, you have 2 Venom movies, Woody Harrelson's Carnage. You have this whole like Spider-Verse, Sinister Six thing that they're building towards and they've been setting up. And eventually, we all know, there has to be a Spider-Man in that world. Eventually. Now, it was teased that Tom Holland exists in this world in a post-credit scene, and obviously if that's the thing that ended up happening, that's the thing that ends up happening. But I think we all know, and I think Sony knows, that if they try to make a universe of films that has Tom Holland fighting Jared Leto's Morbius and Craven and these characters, it's just going to be compared to the quality of film that Marvel is currently making in the 50-50 deal that they have with Sony. And we don't want that. We don't want that, number 1, because it's an impossible standard to live up to. The MCU is this like singular thing that nothing really compares to. So why would Sony want to do that to themselves? I realize that Sony is making those films, but those films still exist inside the MCU. If you have to see Tom Holland going in there and fighting, Craven or Morbius or Carnage, all we're going to be doing is talking about, were they as good as the Vulture? Were those films as good as his appearances in Infinity War? And that's just not going to be a good thing for anybody. So Andrew Garfield sets up kind of the perfect foil for them. They're able to use all of this infrastructure, all the building, and then throw in something that we're already comfortable with, that we aren't going to compare, that there is truly momentum. There is fan favorite attachment to Andrew Garfield right now. He fits perfectly. They can build up to it. They only have to do 1 film with him, and then down the line, they can make another one. For those that don't know, the way that it works is that Sony has to make a Spider-Man film at least every 5 years to keep the rights. This is why in 2012, The Amazing Spider-Man was made, because in 2007, Spider-Man 3 came out, and though it was very financially successful, to keep the rights, they were going to make a Spider-Man 4. People know that story. They had to make a film. They did it with Andrew Garfield. The reason that universe, the 2012 and the 2014 sequel, kind of feel at times disjointed and rushed is because Sony didn't 100% have a plan of what they wanted to do. They had to rush into it to keep the rights, and so that's what they ended up doing. Now, this gets us to the second reason why I think there will be an Amazing Spider-Man 3. Obviously, I mentioned that Andrew Garfield's kind of a perfect fit. Well, the second thing is fan demand. What that ultimately results in is box office results. Now, currently, as I make this video right now, Spider-Man No Way Home is the 12th highest grossing film of all time. When all is said and done, it will probably crack the top 10, maybe even a little higher. Sony, of their 15 highest grossing films all time, 9 of them are Spider-Man films. 9 of them. Sony has zero hesitation when it comes to making Spider-Man movies, right? They want to do that. They realize that is their chief moneymaker. And fun fact, just in case anybody doesn't know this, I imagine most of you do, Marvel sold their rights to Spider-Man films to Sony in 1998 for $7 million. $7 million. Marvel was bankrupt. It was a different time, obviously, but it's got to be one of the most profitable deals in the history of business. Maybe it is. I don't know. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy deal. Anyway, that being said, there's true fan demand for Spider-Man right now. We can see that with the $1.3 billion made on No Way Home. But more than anything, they have recent box office results in a Spider-Man film that stars Andrew Garfield. By the way, he's not in like 1 minute of the movie. Andrew Garfield's got like 15 minutes of screen time. He's a star of that movie. The box office results back up Andrew Garfield. Even if you only attribute 20% of that film's success to Andrew Garfield, it's currently made almost $1.4 billion. That's almost $300 million you could attribute just to Andrew Garfield. So he still has it. The box office results show it. And when fan demand is there for something, and it was, right? People talked about for years that they wanted to see a crossover film, that they loved Tobey Maguire, they loved Andrew Garfield, they thought he should come back for a third film. Well, the fan demand was there so much that it pushed this film to $1.3 billion, right? And unlike something like The Matrix 4, which is currently bombing, where there was fan demand for The Matrix, well, Warner Brothers is going to go, what's our motivation to make another one of these movies? You guys say you want it, but ultimately, we can't make it if it's not going to make money. Remember that all studios they're just giant businesses trying to make calculated risk. All they're doing is saying, okay, if I put X number of dollars in column A, when it bears out to column B, is it going to be profitable? Just how profitable is it going to be? It doesn't matter that we love the property. That's not why they make the movies, right? That's why the director makes the movie. That's why the star signs on sometimes to be in the movie, though often that's for money too. The reason the studio greenlights the movie, they actually greenlight the movie, is to make money. There has to be some kind of guarantee. Sometimes studios gamble. In this case, it's not a gamble. Even the B characters right now that they're making in the Spider-Man universe are very profitable. So you got to expect that if they put Andrew Garfield into an Amazing Spider-Man 3 film, they have like a slam dunk in terms of success. Sony knows it will be a successful film. It will make more money than Amazing Spider-Man 1 or 2 made. Neither of those films made $1 billion. I wouldn't be shocked if Amazing Spider-Man 3 made $1 billion. On top of which, the third and final reason is timing. This is the perfect time to make an Amazing Spider-Man 3. Sony knows this. Andrew Garfield knows this. Marvel knows this. He is just under 40 years old. So Andrew Garfield is hot right now. He's going to get an Oscar nomination for Tick, Tick, Boom, more than likely. He is exactly in the right moment in his life to play Spider-Man one last time. The multiverse is a concept that we know frighteningly little about. No, the multiverse is a concept that is being currently introduced in Marvel, and it allows us to play with this character for one last time if we want to. Sony has to recognize the opportunity and say, look, we're teed up for this, right? They didn't ever think they were going to be able to go back to the Amazing Spider-Man universe in 2015, right? When the casting rumors of Felicia Hardy, when you were going to actually have Black Cat as a character played by Felicity Jones, when you had Shailene Woodley's Mary Jane show up in a cutscene, and the question was she going to come back? When all that stuff was happening in 15, 16, and people didn't know what was going to happen with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, Sony had to have been looking at this and thinking, maybe we should just cut our losses. Let's work with the MCU. Let's ink this deal. Now, in 2019, that deal obviously changed. It became a 50-50 split. But the point is, right now is the time for this movie, right? In 5 years, sure, you could make it, but it will make a lot less sense. I mean, think about how we all feel about the Black Widow film. It's not even that the movie is anything other than pretty good. Like, that movie is pretty solid, but it got made too late. The Black Widow film came out way too late, and in that way, that movie doesn't feel relevant. It doesn't feel like a movie I really ever want to go back to because it didn't come out in 2016 or 17 when it should have. Right now, this moment, if they strike while the iron is hot and they capture this momentum, they're going to have a hit. They will have a massive, massive hit, and it may even just be the third Spider-Man film to clear $1 billion, with No Way Home and Far From Home as the first two to do it. So those are my 3 reasons why I believe The Amazing Spider-Man 3 is going to happen. I know a lot of people have talked about actual, real casting ideas, the stuntman, all kinds of things that are being leaked, different premises as far as a Spider-Gwen movie, but when it really comes down to it, The Amazing Spider-Man 3 is a film that should come out. It's a film that should come out to cap off the Sony Spider-Verse, the villain stuff that they have building and going on, and it should be a perfect send-off for Andrew Garfield. If he comes back in further installments with multiverse stories, maybe he already is in Multiverse of Madness and we just don't know, but in terms of a standalone film, I think it is the perfect time. I think they should do it, and I believe they will do it. Most studios don't have the luxury to be so proud in the way they handle things as the MCU. Most studios just go with what works, and right now Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man is working for Sony, so they're going to make a movie with him as Spider-Man. All right, guys, those are my thoughts here on The Amazing Spider-Man 3. Be sure to subscribe. Leave a comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm wrong? Like the video. And, of course, if you hit that notification bell, you'll find out when we go live. You'll find out when we drop new videos. We've got movie reviews coming out all of 2022, trailer reactions, the podcast, a live stream on Sundays, and we are both part of competing and in calling matches in the world's largest and most competitive movie trivia league. So it's called the Movie Trivia Schmodown. Check that as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.